Hello, everybody. Let me move on to the front slide. We'll get this going. We're going to have some comments from Lisette, and we'll run through after that very briefly the individuals who will be joining us today, because the first session starts at 12:30 p.m., which is 27 minutes from now. So we'll try to get you out so you can have a bit of a break before that. So welcome everybody to the Parapsychology Foundation Presents Book Expo November 2016, Saturday, November 12th. That's us today, and we'll be on from noon until 5:30 p.m., around about that, Eastern Standard Time. And we are very excited to have these 5 speakers with us today. Dr. Imans Barouche from the University of Western Ontario, Dr. Julia Mossbridge from the Institute for Noetic Sciences, Titus Rivas, who's a well-known researcher from the Netherlands, Rudolf H. Smith, who's also a well-known researcher from the Netherlands and edits the IANS newsletter. He's very prominent in the International Association for Near-Death Studies in Holland, and he's the editor of their journal. And Dr. Renaud Evrard from University of Lorraine in France, who will be talking about his book as well. So before we move on any farther in the event, I'm going to quiet my mic, and Lisette has a few words to say to us.
I would like to welcome everybody today to this, the third of what will be our continuing series of PF Book Expos. We are really proud of this series. We inaugurated it in 2015 and are excited to focus more in-depth exploration of a selection of books that do much to bring illumination to our very complex and far-ranging subject matter. All of today's titles are aimed at the intelligent reader, serious researcher, and student of consciousness and parapsychology. We are pleased to add these volumes to the shelves of the ever-expanding collection of the PF's Eileen J. Garrett Research Library, that presently houses over 12,000 volumes, periodicals from around the world, an audiovisual archive consisting of over 600 entries, and a rare book room. We're open to the public by appointment in Greenport, New York, on the North Shore of Long Island in New York State. But appreciating the difficulty in accessing the collection, we are eager for the opportunity to showcase new books such as those to be presented today. In future, plans are afoot to also highlight some of parapsychology's classic and forgotten or overlooked books. Until we may welcome you personally to the library, we're happy to greet you within this format. You don't need any particular level of education to enjoy the expo, just curiosity about the topics. We believe we may be the only place in the Internet where you can enjoy a Meet the Author experience for recommended academic and popular books on the topics of scientific parapsychology. If you have that aforementioned healthy curiosity coupled with a fascination for the history of global efforts to understand our difficult but ever so valuable subject, we believe you will indeed enjoy today's presentation. We're proud also today, for the first time, to present a non-English written book, in the same way that we have non-English written titles on the shelves of the Garrett. The phenomena we study is a human one, and hence we must recognize contributions the world over from our non-English speaking colleagues, so we may avail ourselves of their expertise and contribution to our combined efforts to understand not only the workings of psychic functioning, but to understand and appreciate their deeper meanings for us all. I must thank our authors for their great work and their participation within our expo, and also our moderators today, into whose capable hands I will soon leave you. Apart from their long-standing affiliation with Parapsychology Foundation over the years and their present positions as PF Research Fellows, both Dr. Nancy Zingrone and Dr. Carlos Alvarado stand on a lifetime of research and writings on the subject, not forgetting their service as past presidents of the Parapsychological Association. So without further ado, let the games begin. Take it away.
And thank you so much for those very kind words. We are very excited about these books today, not the least of which because we have Dr. Renaud Evrard talking about his book, which was written in French. So let me just kind of roll through the schedule really quickly. So at 12:30 Eastern, We will have Dr. Amance Baruth and Dr. Julia Mossbridge talking about transcendent mind, rethinking science of consciousness. You'll see a little bit about this now as I move on. At 2 p.m. Eastern, we'll have Titus Rivas and Rudolf Schmidt talking about their book, The Self Does Not Die, Verified Paranormal Phenomena from Near-Death Experiences. We'll talk about that a little bit in a minute. And then at 3:30 p.m. Eastern, we'll have Dr. Renaud Ebrard, and I'm going to read the English title, A Survey of 150 Years of Parapsychology, The Legend of the Mind. And he used the word l'esprit in the French title because in France it has a double meaning, either the spirit or the mind, and that was something that a theme that he's playing on through the book, as you'll see in his presentation. And then at 5 p.m. Eastern, we hope you'll rejoin us for the closing session. We have a number of things to show you and some announcements about 2017 and so on. So we hope you'll come back for that. I'm not going to go through the biographies or read too much about the books as we go along, because you'll get that information again in the individual sessions. All of the PowerPoints for today, from the opening to the closing, and all the biographical and book information PowerPoints, and Dr. Ebrard's PowerPoint for his presentation are already available in the classroom, and they're available for download. So remember that anything that has a live link on it that you would like to get a hold of, you can do that by downloading the PowerPoints, and then the links will be live. Dr. Baruth is a professor of psychology at King's University College at Western University in Canada. He's a very interesting guy who's done a lot of writing on consciousness. And as he was saying in their practice class yesterday, he and Julia are particularly good. Julia Mossbridge from Institute of Noetic Sciences are particularly good collaborators on this particular topic, because while they have a great deal in common, they also have two very different perspectives on consciousness and the science of consciousness. So we'll hear more about that as they talk about their book. And Dr. Mossbridge, as I said, is from the Institute of Noetic Sciences. She's also a visiting scholar in psychology at Northwestern University in Chicago. She now lives in California. And the author of one book that's been published already and another one that's coming out, and has a new YouTube channel, which is quite interesting. So we're very happy to have them. The book is available from the American Psychological Association website and also from Amazon, and I have links in their opening PowerPoint. And it is actually quite astonishing and very gratifying that the American Psychological Association has brought this book out. And I think the door to this type of work was opened by their confidence in Dr. Baruth, who's published other books with the APA previously. So we're very excited that this type of material is there with the American Psychological Association, having been published by them. And we'll hear more about how that happened in their presentation. Now, Titus Rivas and Annie Dearvin and Rudolf Schmidt put together the book, The Self Does Not Die. And as you can see from the bottom, the translation of this book from Dutch to English was funded by a Kickstarter campaign that was advertised by the International Association of Near-Death Studies. It was a number of people were involved in the translation and in the editing into English and in bringing it out and so on. And we'll talk more about that when we get to that session. Annie Dearvin passed away earlier this year, and one of the things that Titus and Rudolf wanted to say particularly was that they felt very strongly that the project could not have gone forward and the book would not have been written without Annie Dearvin. And this is a little bit more about the book. And as I said, when we get there, there'll be links to buy it and quite a lot of information about the process and how everything came together for them. And our third presentation today by Dr. Renaud Ebrard is a very interesting survey of 150 years of parapsychology in France, starting at the beginning with a number of Nobel laureates in the 19th century and early 20th century, including Charles Richet, and then of course Pierre Curie was one of the researchers. But it's just fascinating, and he's put together a presentation with a lot of the illustrations from the book that will give you kind of a really deep understanding of the content of the book, because most of us don't also read French. Other than Lisette and Carlos, I certainly don't, and many of you may. And Dr. Evrard is not only a past grantee of the Parapsychology Foundation, so we're terribly proud of him, but he's a clinical psychologist and associate professor at the University of Lorraine in France. And with Thomas Rabeyron, who's also a Parapsychology Foundation grantee, he founded a very interesting center which is dedicated not only to research on extraordinary experiences, but to counseling for people who have difficulty with the experiences that they have. And that's the Center for Information, Research, and Counseling on Exceptional Experiences, or CIRSE. He's also a member of the board of directors of the Parapsychological Association, which is the International Union for Scientists and Scholars who are interested in the scientific study of psychic phenomena. And he's currently serving as one of the members of the board of directors of the Parapsychological Association. And this is the cover of the book, and we'll hear quite a bit more about this as we get into his session. And as I said, he has a wonderful PowerPoint that brings forward a number of the photographs from the book and gives you a deeper idea of the content. And in all of the other presentations, there are slides like this that will give you links if you want to go off and buy the book or read more about it on Amazon or elsewhere. And I think that's pretty much it. So what we're going to do is, if anybody has any questions, please ask. Otherwise, we will close the opening session, and we'll see you at 12:30 Eastern in the next session. So when we close this, you just go back to the PF Lyceum page and click on the next session, and that will take you into the rating page. And I wanted to remind you that because you have registered for the Book Expo, all of the materials, the recordings, which should be done over the next 24 to 48 hours, all the PowerPoints, all of that will be available to you as long as Parapsychology Foundation has a PF Lyceum page. And we expect to be there for a couple of years. So you'll be able to come back and watch at your leisure anything that you might not be able to stay with us for today. Also remember that because it's free, we have it open for registration until December 12th. If any of your colleagues or friends are interested in coming in, it's obviously a free login. I'm going to put the link in the description down here, and you can pass that link on to anybody and they can sign up. After December 12th, however, open registration will be closed. At that point, you can still get in touch with any of us, office@parapsychology.org, or myself at nancy@theazire.org, or message Lisette or myself on WizIQ, and we will be more than happy to invite anyone that you know who would like to come in and see these presentations. And as always, we will be putting up the recordings, an edited version of the recordings, on the YouTube channel, but probably not for some months, because we're still working on the Book Expo from April, and we have an enormous amount of legacy materials that are coming out, as well as a number of new series that we're working on to come to the YouTube channel. So even though we've got something going up basically every Friday, it's quite a backlog that we're all working on. So, are there any questions from anybody? I'm going to hang a second, and if you have questions, please raise them in the chat. Back to slide 2 so we can see all those nice pictures. So, no questions, folks? Okay, well, then I don't see anybody typing, so we will see you in 12 minutes in the first session on Transcendent Mind, Rethinking the Science of Consciousness. So see you in a bit.